Yo, it's your main man, E Vapors. And yeah, we are live, man. We doing Cartalk TV today, right here from Instagram, man. So I'm on my Instagram account, man, and we about to lock in with the Cartalk TV account as well, man. And we got a good one for y'all today, man. We got a good one for y'all today. Y'all know I'm all about that electric life, man. So, we got a little bit of today on Car Talk TV, and I want to thank everybody as always for jumping in with us. And we're gonna go ahead and get this thing started, man. What's going on, brother?
Oh,
What's the word, man? We're gonna get this interview started, man. I'm gonna give him your Instagram handle, and I'll let you introduce yourself, of course, man. His Instagram handle is Minimal Duck, and I think I have an idea. I'm gonna do my guessing of what that stands for before you introduce yourself. So I'm gonna assume minimal is like as a minimalist. Is that correct? Now I don't know about duck. You're gonna have to fill me in on that one, brother.
yeah. So actually, that uh, and one of the things that really was the archetypes, the styles of architecture, uh, being up, and the other one being called like a decorated shed. And it was this manifesto that Robert Venturi, an American architect, wrote. And basically, a duck type building is a building that resembles on the outside what it is on the inside in its function. And decorated shed is basically Las Vegas. That really resonated with me. The duck type building of actually what is on the outside, what is that's where I kind of got, the minimal and the duck. So it's just very, I mean, it was a long time ago and it just kind of just stuck with me and.
Cool. Nah, the name is everything, man. Whether you're talking marketing, whether you're talking just introducing yourself, man, the name is everything, man. It can spark conversation. It can initiate immediate thoughts. And on that same line, man, one of the reasons that I'm just telling everybody why we brought you here today. I've been on my Tesla all electric kick for a little while now, and I saw you as a entrepreneur. Let's kind of speak to the entrepreneurial side with Scent Wedge. Scent Wedge. Now everybody, all of us car guys, man, we used to have let me speak for myself. We used to have about 20 trees hanging up from the rearview mirror. You know what I'm saying? Like the plastic ripped off of all of them. Like all the plastic ripped off of them. And that was our way of having a fresh car when you open up that door. But I want you to talk about your creation, man, Scent Wedge, and what brought you to that with Tesla.
Yeah. So I have a really sensitive I have a really sensitive nose. So the tree sense, the hanging trees, didn't really work out for me because immediately after opening a package, I would smell it and it was very strong, and I would get a headache. Um, Same thing anytime I get into an Uber or anything like that. I immediately get a headache because the sensitivity I have to smell. So right off the bat, I knew that I don't want to use an overpowering typical air freshener. At the same time, I'm all about the minimal aesthetic that the Model 3 and Model Y and now the Model S and X um, have. And so able to by being able to experience that car, I actually I would never want to hang anything from the mirror, because it's just like it's an obstruction, right? And so it's so minimal. The interior is just so um, so with those two constraints and the fact that, you know, I have a dog who likes to go to the dog park and roll around in mud, and this particular type of mud is like the sulfuric mud that, you know, smells like rotten eggs, and that combined with, you know, no no type of other scents in the car to, you know, cover that up, led to the creation of Scent Wedge, just because friends were getting in the car and they're like, wow, your car really stinks. Uh, and so, you know, it just kind of, it was just a,
Uh-oh. Hey, we can't hear you.
Yeah, he cut out.
oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, cut out a little bit. I think maybe if you when you're a little further away, it cut out a little bit more.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. All solid, all solid.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, basically I was just, you know, trying to solve a problem, you know, that I was encountering when I first took ownership of the car. And then it turned out that other people were also interested. And so I started a business.
Man, no, I think that's dope, and I like a car show. And I want you to talk to this more to me. When he said, you know, he identified a problem,
Mm-hmm.
he pretty much created a solution. Man, can you speak to that, car show?
Man, that's all it is in the entrepreneurship world, man. Finding a problem and creating a solution. That's all it is. Cut, dry, and simple, man. Business 101. The bigger the problem, obviously,
Right.
the more people you can impact. You know, the more you can be well off financially. Look, you find a problem that 1 billion people got, you'll easily be a billionaire. Easy. Quick question. I got a question for you as far as, you know, when it comes down to business. Is this your first endeavor into entrepreneurship?
No. So I studied architecture, but quickly after architecture school, I realized architecture in practice is not something suitable for something that I actually enjoy doing. And more product design was, you know, what I really fell in love with in school. And so, you know, creating products that people, everyday people could, you know, deal with and kind of experience was more attractive to me than, you know, buildings and homes. So, um, so right off the bat, right after college, I created like a really nice felt tip pen, machined aluminum felt tip pen. And we did like a Kickstarter off that, and then I was like making wallets out of cork, and then after that, it was like a smart bike light, um, and then now Scent Wedge. And so, you know, I would say everything that I did in the past was more like 6-month experiments and just trying to create something and you know, solve my own problem. I mean, all of this, everything has always just been trying to create something that I personally would enjoy or want to have. And I just find that easier because it's easier to solve a specific problem, you know, if you're experiencing it every day. Um,
Agree.
and so yeah, it wasn't my first time, but this is the most amount of time that I've spent on a particular idea in a company. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
Cool. And you know, usually all those things in the past, just like we talked about offline, it builds up to that next step, and the ball gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Each step you take on to the next venture, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And
You
eventually you on that one thing that, yo, this is it. And it's out of there from there.
yeah, you kind of just build upon previous ideas and skill sets, right? Because every time you put something together and you're trying to create something, and you're not venture backed, you're bootstrapping everything. You know, these constraints lead to creative solutions, and uh, and creative ways of gaining new skills. And I think learning software, like software programs, or acquiring new skills, work best when you're actually trying to create something for a purpose. Um, for example, I picked up video editing and shooting videos from the first project when I was trying to create a Kickstarter video for this pen that I made. So, and that just kind of introduces you to things that you wouldn't have organically been introduced to, and then you just kind of build upon that, you know. And the photography, I originally fell in love with photography because of, architecture, and then transitioned to landscape photography. And then, uh, you know, drones were always a thing for me that I always loved. But it wasn't until DJI became a company and started to actually make drones affordable, that I actually was able to acquire one and start dabbling with drone photography. So, um, so yeah, I think it's important to just always be creating and trying to make things, and then if it's um, regardless of if there's a monetary uh, regardless if there's a monetary advancement or anything like that, I think the skills learned hard are definitely worth it.
Man,
Yeah,
right
it's,
here in this
it's when you,
is this one of the videos that you shot with your drone?
I mean, yeah, all the videos on my page shot by me. Um, so yeah, that's definitely the shot for Desk Wedge.
I'm not saying this just because I'm on here with you. Each video on your page is television and movie quality. In my opinion, man, it's like I'm having a commercial break, at the Super Bowl, and this is a commercial that I would see come on. For you to say this is something that a skill set you picked up along the way. Give us a little bit more insight to how you're able to produce such high quality videos.
Man, honestly, I mean, it's the YouTube Academy, right? I mean, every time, I think, like, if you're trying to create, if you're trying to learn a new, if you're trying to learn a new skill, and you have a project to apply it to, then you know the problems that you're trying to solve. So everything that you're really trying to get, you can just quickly do a YouTube search, and like, there's just infinite tutorials on everything, right? So, from color grading to image stabilization, those things are, what I picked up on, and of course, like how to cut things and how to tell a story visually. I mean, I think most of us are capable of doing that because we're so used to watching movies and shows, and I think once you start dabbling in it, you kind of start picking it up. It's kind of a natural way. I mean, at least for me, it's like it's natural to, you know, cut shots and put them together in a sequence and have it be, a continuous thing. Um, yeah.
I think it's amazing, man. Because again, when I went to your page, it's like, okay, I went to your page under the idea of the Scent Wedge, just the that product, without knowing that you were the guy behind the camera and everything. So I was just like, man, this guy's hired out some really good photographers and video. I'm like, he's serious about his business.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I get that often, where you know, um, people think that I'm hiring out a lot of work, but yeah, it's just it's just my thing. Being able to create visuals that tell the story of the product. I mean, and that's like, yeah, I really enjoy doing that.
Well, like I said, man, I was like, man, this guy has hired out, or he has a great team behind him, and to find out that, man, that's your work, I think that is absolutely awesome. I know you mentioned about finding a problem with the smell with the air freshener for the Tesla. What prompted you to come up with the idea for the desk wedge? I'm gonna as you're talking about, I'm gonna bring up a picture of it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, that's just all in the same theme as, trying to solve a problem that I encounter on the daily. And so living in the city where I live, in a loft with shared parking, there is no way for me to actually charge my car. And so because of this, I end up spending a lot of time at the superchargers. Um, and, I don't personally, I mean, there are times where I like to just watch a movie, but that's typically not inside the car. And so I prefer to get work done, and that's basically where the desk idea came from, is to be able to literally supercharge your work. And I do a lot of video editing while I'm charging, or work on the website, or edit photos. And so that was really, again, like trying to solve that, problem for me of not having, a good way of actually using my laptop while I charge. And then another thing is too, this was like during the, halfway through the pandemic. It's like, if you have one of these cars and, you're tired of working from home, then this could be a remote working office for you, and you can be anywhere as long as you have internet connection. Then you can work from anywhere. And that was kind of the idea for that too. Not so much the eating side of things. I mean, obviously any surface you can eat on, but if you look at the desk wedge, it's literally probably the smallest surface that you can have and still be able to have a 16-inch MacBook Pro on. And that was very intentional, because, I don't think it's necessary, I mean, at least for me, to have a huge tray with cup holders and all these whistles and bells, because I personally don't, eat that often in the car. And when I do, I mean, it's typically smaller things, or it's like a burger and I'm holding it. And there's cup holders already in the car, so there's no need for that. And really, for me, it's just like a work surface to be able to have my laptop on the steering wheel and be able to get work done and not have it be on my lap where it's overheating and, all the health effects of that. So, yeah, so that's where that came from.
No, I think it's tough, and again, you finding a problem and you coming up with a solution, I think is an absolutely dope thing, and I think it's amazing. And what got you?
It's also important to note that, I make everything locally as well. So I try and keep everything as domestic as possible. And, that's the other thing too. It's like you see a lot of accessories being made overseas. And it's just like, to me, it's not the same. I'd rather keep everything as local as possible. So, yeah, that desk wedge is manufactured in a factory like 10 minutes away from where I live.
Wow, no, that's amazing, and that's rare. Obviously, for several reasons, it's rare that a lot of products are made in the U.S.
Yeah.
We ain't gotta go down that all the different reasons why companies end up going overseas or whatnot. But I think it's pretty cool that you're able to locally manufacture a product of that nature. And do you remember the moment or the specific thing that got the attention of Tesla Motors themselves? Because again, I mean, I know people take stuff lightly, man. Tesla has millions of followers, but they only follow 16 people, and you're one of 16 people that they follow. So what was that moment when you got the attention of Tesla Motors?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually very surreal. And it was again because of the photography side of things. And, you know, not, so it's actually pretty funny. I, at the time, I didn't have a camera anymore. I didn't have a DSLR. I had I only had a drone. And the reason I didn't have a DSLR is because I sold it. My dog at the time, my previous dog, was going through cancer, and so I needed some extra funds to pay for the crazy bills. So I sold the camera, got rid of everything that I didn't need, and she ended up passing away anyways, but you know, I tried. But the drone was all I really had when I actually took ownership of the car, you know, a couple months later. So I started shooting photographs just with the drone, and you know, started to really hone in on that, and you know, the perspective that it allowed was very different than, you know, typical car photography and things that you would see. So it was really cool, and you know, I just started posting it daily, and uh, this was like before I even started Scent Wedge, was taking the photographs of the car because that was, you know, a distraction for me of what was going on, and also just like it became my muse, and you know, I started to just push out a photo a day, I think, and then ultimately got Tesla's attention, or the marketing person at Tesla's attention, and they reached out and they're like, "Can we feature some of these images?" And I was like, "Of course!" I was completely blown away. Um, Very, very surreal. Very thankful for that. And yeah, and then I remember, like, you know, after a while, after a couple videos that or photos that they featured, one day I just saw a notification that they followed me, and I was just thrilled. I mean, at that point, I mean, that's because I'm like a super fan, so you know, just like, you know, thrilled. Uh, so so yeah, um, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I was looking on your page too. You guys donated face shields. How did that come about with the face
Yeah,
shield?
so that was in the early days of the pandemic. I was actually um, right before everything went into lockdown. I I was in Italy, and you know, there was this thing everybody was talking about, you know, the coronavirus, COVID-19, and it was still kind of a joke back then because everybody thought it was just going to be, you know, nothing serious, and turns out it was pretty serious. And so, you know, when I came back from Italy, I actually quarantined myself. Nobody made me. I didn't really have symptoms, but I was just trying to be safe. And so I stayed home for like 2 weeks, and I was just glued to the TV watching, you know, the news and seeing things about PPE shortages and the fact that there's people on the front lines that don't have anything to protect themselves with, um, was motivation to design face shields that use everyday materials to then donate to people that need them. And so that's how that. So you know, it was a really fun design exercise to limit yourself to as few materials as possible and materials that are still accessible. So, you know, if you remember, like, right, you know, when the first lockdowns went into place, everybody was panic buying and everybody was buying the specific type of PETG plastic material to try and make face shields. And so there was a lot of material shortages. You know, there were people 3D printing face shield rims and things like that. But the reality was that, you know, and my belief was that 3D printing is very slow. And, you know, because of architecture school, I was familiar with laser cutters, and because of Scent Wedge, I had a laser cutter. That's how I produce everything. So I decided to utilize the tools that I have, the skills that I have, to make these face shields out of 1/8-inch thick acrylic and projector sheets. The overhead projector plastic, which
Yeah.
is not hospital grade, but during a time where it's either that or nothing, it turned out to be very desired by the hospital staff and people requesting it. So yeah, and nobody was using overhead projector sheets, so it was abundant. And then for the elastic, again, there was elastic shortages too. So you couldn't get, elastic like this. So that's why I use rubber bands, the folder rubber bands. So they're much larger and abundant. So yeah, designed the face shields in like 3 weeks, and then started producing them. And we produced like 10,000 over the span of the few months that we were doing it, and just you know uh, distributing it locally and nationally. And it was great because it was actually most of the Tesla community and Scent Wedge customers that would help offset the cost of the materials. So
Mm-hmm.
it was, I was taking like a $2 cost, a $2 loss per shield as well. So we were kind of donating $2, and then the general public was like donating them for like $3 too. So like the rough cost of the whole thing was like $5 a shield, but we were all subsidizing it. And so that's kind of how that came about, was a community effort, and that way the end consumer received it for free, but the materials were paid for and the time was donated. So
Man, so once again, we identified a problem. We came up with a solution, and people benefited from it. And I personally believe, I mean, clearly we can see that you care about people, man. Like a genuine caring about other people, and and condolences on losing your dog, man. Big condolences on that, man. We definitely can feel you on that, man. And when you said that you sold, now I have a camera that I'm looking at right now, not that I'm on right now. I have a Canon Mark III, and I'm just like, man, I don't want to sell my camera, but it's like, man, there's something of that nature where it's like, hey, I need to put some money together to take care of my dog. It was well worth it, and it wasn't in vain, man, because I really believe the love and the compassion you put into that situation, and the compassion that you put into the face shield. I believe that is gonna cause you to have so much success, man, because you just really care about other people. And I feel like when you put that kind of love and energy into the world, man, it's gonna come back. And I'm believing that it come back monetarily for you. Now I don't. A handshake is nice. A hug is nice too. But I'm believing, man, that it's gonna come back monetarily, man. And I really believe, as a Tesla guy, that Scent Wedge is gonna be crazy. I don't know when it's gonna hit a point to where you're gonna be out of stock every time you log in. That's gonna happen. And the desk wedge. Now, of course, the Yolk steering wheel design that we showed, y'all know that the Yolk design is relatively new, but that still fits the Model Y, 3, and S, correct?
yeah, it fits perfectly snug. Yeah, that was all chance. Obviously, we didn't have access to Yoke steering wheel, but the first time that I got access to Yoke steering wheel, of course, I had to try it. And actually, the first time I tried it, I was rushing, so I was like, "Oh, it's not going to work." And then the second time I got to try it, I was like, "Oh, wait, hold on, it does work." And so it was, yeah, it was pretty cool. Um, you know, going back to what you said though about the face shields, I mean, it was kind of like a situation where you know you have access to the tools, and you have this idea that could potentially help save even one life. Uh, I wouldn't, there wouldn't be, it wouldn't be possible to not try and do something, because if, you know, the guilt involved with like avoiding that, even though you know there's something you can do, is just not something
Mhm.
like worth, you know, uh, living for. So it's just like, you know, it's more like one of those situations where it's like, you know, you're fortunate enough to be in this situation to be able to give back in some way. So the only thing that you could do is to try, and that's how that happened. Um, and it's been great. I mean, you know, the the 3 months or 4 months that I did it, it was just nonstop. You know, go go go, and it was like it was a great distraction from you know the you know the helplessness that the pandemic was making everyone feel. You know, and I was definitely feeling that. So
Yeah, and on that same line, man, do you find yourself immersing yourself into your work? Maybe for I just say oftentimes we can utilize work as something that's almost therapeutic. Do you ever find yourself immersing yourself in work for those reasons?
I think so. Yeah, I think most of my life the reason why I just you know always have a side project or um, you know, an idea that I'm pursuing is exactly that. I think it is therapeutic. And I think there's something very natural about creating and making things. So, um, yeah, I think for sure it's therapeutic.
Yeah, and speaking of being creative, man, I wanted to show you guys some of his work if we can kind of see it. I don't know if you guys can tell. This is an overhead shot from a ferry, and I was reading the caption, and the ferry was moving when he had to land the drone. So now, as a drone operator myself, what was that experience like? Having the nerve to take a drone, the nerve to take
Yeah,
a drone shot while a ship is moving, and to have to land the drone on said ship. What was that like?
yeah, that was actually crazy. You know, it was during this road trip that I was doing in Norway, and uh, these ferries. It is very common for people that live there to take these ferries to get from one part to another part, uh, you know, over the fjords that are there. And so, you know, this was about maybe the second time that we got on a ferry, and I was just like, this shot would look really cool if I was to shoot it from above. It was fairly empty, and you know, it's just like one of those things where I asked the person that was in charge of the ferry if I could just launch the drone real quick, and I don't think he really understood what I was saying, but I tried to use hand gestures, and I showed him, and he smiled, and I think he said okay, so I just took off real fast, and this was while the ferry was still parked, waiting for the moment where the ferry actually backs up. So that's why when you see the image, you know, the ripples are in front of the ship is because it's backing out of its spot. Um, and I didn't know how soon it was going to do that. So I was still in the air. And obviously, when it starts moving, it actually starts moving relatively fast compared to the drone. And so I basically ended up landing the drone just in time, but it was everything was moving on the ship, so I just grabbed it out of the air, um, almost crashing it into the car that was parked behind me because we're moving. So it was a very lucky moment, and you know it's definitely could have ended badly. um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really like how that image looks and how it turned out. Uh, and so I think it was worth the risk.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Was this in Norway also, or is that local where you are?
That's all Norway. So there's like a series of maybe 20, 30 images that are just from Norway, and they're all shot similar to that in these crazy landscapes. And Norway
Wow.
is the biggest adopters of EVs, so there's great charging infrastructure where you know one of the most beautiful supercharger stations that I've ever been at was in Norway. Um, you know, it's just like yeah, it's just it's beautiful. That's a glacier right there. You know, it's just like the nature in Norway and the EV adoption there, the infrastructure. I mean, it's a beautiful
Mm,
go. Yeah, that's the supercharger that I was talking about. I mean, it was just like
wow.
crazy to use, and that was probably I think 5 a.m. Um,
Wow.
very early in the morning.
That's now all supercharger stations are not created equal because I went down from North Carolina here down to Orlando to Disney, and most of the I'll say 9 out of the 10 supercharger places were great. That's always at a mall or a shopping center. That's the kind of the ideal, at least here in America.
Yeah,
Um, but we
it's
stopped at one in a small town, man. I'm not going to name the state. Man, it was like, let's get out of here as quick as possible. I only needed to charge for about 15 minutes. When I tell you we charged for 14 minutes and got on out of there, we got on out of there. But that is an absolutely beautiful charging station there in Norway. When I think Tesla and infrastructure, I'm literally just thinking the United States.
uh,
Tell us a little bit more about what you know about Tesla's infrastructure abroad.
yeah. I mean, everywhere that I try to see a supercharger station, just because that's how much of a nerd I am. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of superchargers in Norway, not as much in Iceland yet. But yeah, Europe has a lot of superchargers. Um, so I mean, I think definitely North America has the most superchargers. But yeah, I mean, doing a road trip in Norway, I've never once thought about when am I going to charge or have range anxiety or anything like that. So it's pretty impressive, the amount of chargers that are everywhere.
Yeah,
Um, and definitely, I mean, in the States, they're usually conveniently located, you know, where supermarkets are, or restaurants are, you know, but in places like Norway, um, you know, in more rural sides of places, you know, these were just um, parking lots that were next to like bed and breakfasts or, you know, cottages and things like that. You know.
man, that I was just going through that series again of photos from Norway, and what is your connection to Norway? Was it one of those I'm throwing a dart on the board and I'm just gonna travel, or is it family? And what brought you to Norway?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I was in Italy uh, on a work trip, and so before Scent Wedge, I was doing a lot of consulting too, like design consulting, and so as part of that, I was in Italy. Um, and when I was in Italy, I had basically reserved about a week's worth of time to just for leisure to be able to travel around local places, and I basically took an Instagram poll of different places that I would like to see, and then see, you know, if people have feedback and you know where the majority thinks is worthwhile of seeing if you only have 5 days, you know, yada yada. But in that process, Norway was one of the places that I listed, and I didn't know this at the time, but the marketing lady of Tesla Norway was following my account, and she saw that, and so she was like, "Hey, if you come to Norway, we'll give you a car." And I was like, "Seriously, like done?" Like so,
I was going to ask you that. Like, do
yeah,
you share everywhere you go? I was going to ask you that. So
yes.
the
So she made that offer, and I was like seriously, like of course, like that's a no brainer. Like if I could borrow a car, um, I'm booking my flight. So like right after we figured that out, I booked the flight and from Italy to Norway, and yeah, it was amazing. Um, you know, I made sure that it was a white Model 3. Uh, made sure it had autopilot, and everything else was just amazing.
Yeah,
So a lot,
that's
but I may have like rented the car or something like that. But it was actually just, yeah, Tesla let me borrow it. So it's pretty cool.
See, that's even more amazing because again, when you were mentioning you were in Norway, so I was like, oh, they renting cars in Norway. Okay, they got Teslas rent. But that makes it even more impressive, man, that again, great work that you've done, the time and effort and energy you put into your work and your craft got the attention of the right people and it opened up a door.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, it was just pretty awesome experience, and just, you know, one of those once in a lifetime opportunities where, you know, things align, and, you know, you say yes or no, and I like to say yes.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely, man. There is no way, man, there's no way that this is not clearly the beginning of many more doors opening. That I don't believe things happen by accident, and there's no, oh, I just stumbled into Instagram and oh, Tesla just happened to follow my account. Up, this Tesla representative in Norway, as big as the world is, just so happened
right.
to see my post. Nothing is happening by accident, sir. So I just want to tell you, man, like, I don't know if you believe in signs, man. I do. You just can look around. If you be quiet sometimes and just look around and look back, even the things that weren't so pleasant in your life, you look back and then look where you currently are, and it's like, oh, even without that tragedy, I wouldn't have taken 10 days off from work. And while I was off from work, I invented Scent Wedge. You know, if you just start looking at all the things that happen, the good things and the bad things, man, there's no way none of those things are accidents, man. And
Yeah.
where do you see yourself, you know, going with Scent Wedge and Desk Wedge and any other things that you're working on? Do you see yourself sitting in a seat like Elon, and we all know who you are? Do you see yourself like a Bill Gates sitting in a seat that he found a problem and fixed it? You found some problems and you fixed it, man. So I see you sitting in those type of seats, man. What say you?
Yeah.
I got a question to that as well. I like where you going with that, Vapes.
Uh, yeah, I definitely see myself in a position where I'm always kind of just working on a solution, trying to solve problems, trying to create value, add value to society. That's definitely something that I think would be a fulfilling life, and something that, um, you know, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of things interest me, and so I think I look at everything as like stepping stones, um, and so, you know, work on things for 5 years at a time and see where that goes, and but for me, I think I take the most joy out of just creating a product that people encounter and use, and, you know, either love or hate. You know, that's the other thing too. It's like when somebody, you know, attacks it and hates it, it's like I take it very personally because it's just like, you know, it's very close to me, you know. But it comes with the good, you know. So the way I see it is I would like to, you know, be in a position where I'm able to work on bigger problems, and provide more value.
Well, go ahead. Hey, Carshaw, I know you want to add on to that line of questioning, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, because you know, the theme, it seems like, with this conversation is you know, find a problem, create a solution. You know, obviously you got Scent Wedge, you got Desk Wedge, and it seems like it's exclusively to the Tesla market.
Yeah.
You know, as that continue to grow and as you continue to knock that out the water, um, with that being said, as a creator, as an entrepreneur, do you see yourself maybe not? I mean, I don't know if you will, or if you're just going to keep that exclusive to Tesla, but that's the EV world. And as you know, people still have gas cars. Do you see yourself creating maybe something else for people who have the similar problems that you created Scent Wedge and Desk Wedge?
Yeah, that's a good question, and people ask me that all the time. It's actually pretty interesting because, you know, people with the Model S and Model X, ask me all the time for Scent Wedge, right? But that's very exclusive to Model 3 and Model Y. And again, it has to do with solving a problem that I was encountering, originally. But also the fact that the Model 3 and Model Y offered this novel way of controlling airflow. And so they lended themselves to a different option for controlling the aroma in the car. So to that note, I don't really think or consider, pursuing the air freshener market for other cars, unless they also innovate in a way where it allows you to work with the car as seamlessly as the Model 3 and Model Y did, right? To where it's like super subtle, and there's just like a new way of ventilation. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
It answers my question.
I can't hear you.
He vapes.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, what I wanted to show you guys right here was the airflow. Some of you guys might not realize we can control the airflow from the screen, and literally the airflow with just dragging your finger, you can control it. And there's this from one side of the front of the car to the other side of the car, a singular vent. Mm-hmm. And the product that we're talking about goes inside that vent, man. And I just think it's an amazing solution to
two linear vents in the car. So there's the main vent that blows the air out, and then there's a secondary vent that blows air up. And so what they're essentially doing is treating air like a surface. And so they're able to control air with air, the directionality of where it's pointing to. And so the secondary vent is where the scent wedge gets wedged into. And, the air that's coming out mixes with the air that's, blowing horizontally. And so that's kind of how it works.
And it's amazing, man. It is absolutely amazing, and just the fact that your background, man, and how you've shifted gears. Oftentimes, you have people that might go to school for one thing, and then they just feel like, well, I went to school for this one thing, and that's it. I believe all of our life experiences can lead us to different areas. It doesn't have to be that one thing that you chose as an 18-year-old, to go to school for. Or maybe in some people's cases, their parents choose what they go to school for. But what I feel like is unique, regardless of what you go to school for, are the life experiences. While you're in school to be an engineer, you're meeting people and you're finding out what issues that someone else has, and you found a solution because you were sitting on the couch at the dorm listening to somebody's world problems, man. So, I would never say, there's not value in what you went to school for. It might just not be the specific coursework per se. It could just be all those life experiences. And just to kind of go in that same direction, man, I know you went to school for different things. Do you ever lean on any of those experiences that did not have to do with coursework?
So let me see if I understand this. Are you asking if like skills acquired in architecture school, do I still use them, or what's the question?
Yeah, so you went to school to become an architect, but I mean, I'm sure were there other experiences that you may lean on and use more now than the actual architectural coursework?
Yeah, so I think actually architecture school is a very well-rounded education in terms of like creating and also marketing. I mean, I rely heavily on architecture school the things that I experienced in architecture school. Because essentially it was, every 3 weeks we would have a design review where we're pitching an idea. And you have to come up with the whole, array of these boards essentially that convey this idea that you're trying to put forward, so that actually taught me a lot in the way of like telling a story and selling an idea. In an architecture school, I was able to take, a photography seminar, so I got to like dabble more with photography. So I think I rely heavily on skills in architecture school. I also rely heavily, like I didn't go straight from high school to university because I paid for school myself, and it's actually significantly cheaper to go to community college and then transfer once you get your general education out of the way to university. And so that was what I did, and I knew I was going to do that when I was a junior in high school because my older brother did that, and I saw that, so I learned from that. And I'm like a huge believer in surrogate learning, like learning from my older siblings, his mistakes and things that they did right, and just trying to pick and choose what you want to apply. And so I had the fortune of that, of being the youngest out of four, and so kind of just learning from everyone. But I still use a lot of skills that I picked up on in community college too. Actually, it was great. And those skills that I picked up in community college helped me excel when I went to university and so forth. So, yeah, I think that coupled with just the unlimited resources that YouTube has to offer with tutorials, really just as long as you have the desire to learn something and pick up a new skill, it's very accessible nowadays. So.
Yeah, no. I'm the YouTube king, man. Like I have a YouTube channel as well, and Cartalk has a YouTube channel, and Cartalk TV. We have a lot of these interviews on YouTube as well, and we're gonna load this one on YouTube as well, man. So I definitely understand the power of YouTube University, man. I like to say that I have my doctoral degree from YouTube University, whether
Yeah.
it's how to put a spark plug into a Honda Civic, changing the light bulb in a Honda Civic, or like you said, color grading, dealing with something in Photoshop with my camera, man. YouTube is definitely that free university that everybody's been clamoring about, man. And I'm just thoroughly impressed, bro, at the way you've taken all your life experiences, education wise, professionally, and I mean you're changing the world, bro. Like I'm just kind of stuck on the face shield thing, because there's no shortage of companies that have access to way more materials that their founder or CEO didn't get that spark to create items that are helpful during the pandemic, especially early on. Now it's a no-brainer. Now somebody does it now, not that you wouldn't take it now, but man, when it first kicked off, man, that's when people really need it.
Right.
And so I just want to salute you, man, for raising your right hand and just saying, hey, I'll step in, even though we're not a multi-billion-dollar company, and this is not just something I can easily do.
Right.
We'll take a loss, man, just to help people, man. And on the sake of time, man, I could talk to you forever. We got a part of the show, man, to where Cartalk Rail, he asked these tough questions, man. So I'm gonna tell you, he already pulled your credit report. He already pulled the police file. He's talked to your neighbors. So I apologize in advance, man. These are gonna be the toughest random 5 questions you ever been hit with. So forgive me in advance.
All right.
All right, so let's get right into it. What's your dream car?
My dream car is the Tesla Roadster, the new one. Yeah.
Favorite restaurant?
What's that? Favorite
Favorite.
restaurant? Favorite restaurant? Oh man. Um, that's a hard one because I have multiple favorite restaurants. But for the longest time, there was this place called Zachary's Pizza, which was Chicago style deep dish pizza. Um, that used to be my favorite. But I guess currently my favorite restaurant is this place called Passione, which is like this Italian restaurant. Um, yeah, I think that might be it.
Cool. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, if you could spend an hour with one person, who would that be and why?
Elon Musk.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Um, yeah, it would either be Elon Musk or actually Franz, the lead designer at Tesla. Um, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, if I had to choose, um, just because I feel like Elon Musk would be like very intimidating, maybe. Whereas Franz would be, we could talk a lot more about design stuff. Um, and yeah, he seems more approachable. So I don't know, but honestly, if I could just choose and the person would be open to it, yeah, probably Elon.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What keeps you going every day?
Um, Tomorrow. Yeah, I'm like really excited always, like, to wake up and what the day has to offer, and just being able to solve a problem and being able to create something, having the opportunity to create something, and I think that in itself is like a cyclical motivational thing, right? It's just it's weird. It kind of just feeds into itself. Obviously, there's times where it goes away, you get burned out, and that definitely happens. Um, but I think I'm generally genuinely excited about you know the next day and the next day after that. It's just like, okay, so you just create plans of things that you got to get done, and it's just crazy to think about, right? I mean, we're just on this little tiny rock in this massive universe going around, this other star, and it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? But that's life, and so
Yeah.
we create things, and
Yeah.
we create things until we can no longer create things, and that's that, and I think, you know,
All right. Last question. You ready?
yeah.
How do you want your legacy to be remembered?
Wow. I've I've never thought about that, but I guess I would like to be remembered as somebody who tried to help as many people as possible um, when presented with an opportunity to do so. And I think every day kind of lends itself in some shape or form to do that. But ultimately, I like helping people. It brings me like joy to be able to help people. And so being able to do something that allows me to help people is, I think, um, what I would like to be remembered as.
Love it. Love it. There you have it. Turn
Hey, hey, you made it through the toughest 5 questions in America, man. So you a tough dude, my brother. Let me go and tell you.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for the time and the opportunity and for making me think about these things.
Hey, I mean, we honestly, bro, like the show that we do is Cartalk TV. We love to talk about cars, and we hit the mark. We talked about cars, today. But more importantly, man, I think a lot of times our interviews, man, we find ourselves learning something about ourselves, and a lot of times our guests come on here and say, "Man, I never thought about this. I never thought about that," and
Right.
it opens up things with our guests, man. So thank you for just being open enough to allow yourself to maybe find out something new about yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you guys and keep up the good work.
No doubt, man. Hey, stay in contact with us, man, and on that note, man, make sure you guys go to scentwedge.com, man, and make sure y'all follow. Y'all see it hanging up here in the tag in the pin area, minimal_duck. Make sure y'all follow him. He's a really, really good guy, man. Great entrepreneur, founder of Scent Wedge, and the inventor of the desk wedge. So y'all follow his social medias, man. Stay in contact, because he has 19,400 followers right now, but that's probably going to switch over to about 8.7 million here real soon. So guys, make sure y'all remember this interview, because we're going to call him out if he ever forgets our names.
That's funny. Guys, I appreciate it.
All right, man. That's with you, man. But hey, you guys, man, it's your main man, E Vapors, Minimal Duck, and Cartalk TV Network. We out, man. Salute.